I'm 10 News reporter Joe Little in Alpine, where this meatball may find himself in the middle of a legal dispute. Driving through some of these alleyways, you don't need the 10 News Prius, you actually need the 10 News four-wheeler, which we don't have. Now, the healthy lifestyle goes well beyond having fun on the playground here. It also helps in the classroom. The Living Coast Discovery Center says it has enough money now to stay open. Does it really smell that bad?
Yes, it does.
21 gourmet dumpster meals. I'm so disappointed in you right now. Is it good? He's not always convincing.
That actually was not good.
For years, 8th Street really hasn't existed here on Chula Vista's Bayfront. In fact, this used to be nothing but World War II era buildings. But in the next few years, 8th Street will look like this and be the first visual proof that the Bayfront Master Plan is underway. Those fees would also pay for storm drains, pretty much anything that takes water and sewage away from the city. What's your favorite sport? Do you like the pool or do you like the basketball court?
I like the basketball court.
You like the basketball court?
I like swimming.
Guys, I'm standing on the south side of Lindbergh Field near one of the tools that people here use to protect planes from their counterparts in the air. This is one of Caltrans's future transit station and park and rides here in Chula Vista, right along the 805. Right now, it's just a vacant lot, and there's a little problem that could hold up construction. Let me show you. This tiny little plant, believe it or not, may be endangered. It's not as easy as looking at the map and cutting it into 4 equal parts. There's a whole bunch of other factors they need to consider.
Fleet Admiral Kahan Den.
Gesundheit. Star Trek will have a big exhibit this year. Is there a Klingon translation for deep fried?
No, they do not have one. They eat their food live.
This is probably the funniest attack ad I've seen in a while. The undead come up out of the grave and get a laugh at Nathan Fletcher's expense. Now, it's surprising when you consider how big this drone actually is. Standing on end, it's just as big as I am and this 7-foot pole combined. Now, besides that southern lot, supporters of the wetlands also asked for this lot, which is much bigger and can park hundreds of cars. A man and woman came out of one of the stores with a bunch of really expensive handbags. The woman was caught in one of these parking structures, but the guy, he made off into the San Diego riverbed, and the police are still looking for him. This ground is baking hot. Underneath it, where it's white and black, there could still be embers. But trees are the most deceptive. Even though this tree is gone, the stump is burnt, which means the roots underground could also still be burning. I'm standing a couple miles north of the Black Forest fire, and as you can tell, the winds have really picked up here, so much so residents keep coming back out to make sure their homes are still there. Some of these folks behind me here were actually able to make quick visits to their houses, and Mother Nature actually did something nice for the firefighting effort. And just as some people started getting frustrated with the fact that they couldn't get into their homes, they got a consolation gift: rain. On the left side, you can see pretty much completely charred. On the right side, still green. Yet yesterday, the fire was strong enough to jump this highway. It's a problem facing hundreds of thousands of athletes today, and it may have been solved by an 8th grader. You can see Interstate 15 right behind me here. All of this has ticked off the local councilman. Now, buying the entire town of Jacumba is not Landman's first real estate venture. He also owns a nudist colony right down the road. Well, Bill, I'm at the Mission Bay Sports Center, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is awesome. Beginning this Saturday, you will be able to take your turn on this jetpack, the newest attraction in San Diego. And it's surprisingly simple. Joe Little, stuntman. After signing a waiver and some brief coaching, I was able to get in the air in less than a minute. This is one of those great stories you love to hear about, where someone does a good deed for someone else, and it all started with this purple sticker. Now, just because these waterfight gadgets are designed for the water doesn't mean they can only get wet. They work just as well when they're dry. This is pretty much your standard 4-lane city road. Now imagine walking down this road and not being able to see a thing. It's exactly what happened last month, and it was all caught on camera. I was standing right about here, only I was 160 feet in the air. The guys who worked here had one of the best views in Southern California. I mean, just a few years ago, we'd drive through this same Chula Vista neighborhood and there'd be for sale signs or bank-owned signs at almost every single house. Now those signs are gone. Well, here's the full-page ad in Friday's Union Tribune. It's a compelling argument made by SeaWorld, even though attendance at the park this year begs to differ. Let's list all the things that are wrong with this sidewalk. It's not paved. There are no streetlights. That would help you see all the holes. It's next to a deep canyon, and not a whole lot of people are obeying the speed limit. One of the problems with these trees is they're planted on this steep, shallow slope right here, and some residents are afraid these huge trees are gonna fall on a car or crush somebody. He has an arrow about this big sticking through his lower back and coming out of his chest. Now, forgive the crudeness of my little model here, but the 3 towers closest to the water will fall to the north. The 4th tower will fall to the east. all of them will be falling away from sensitive habitats. Just getting into the lobby here takes 4 layers of security, from the high-tech to traditional security cameras. Now this road here is just a mess. We have the original blacktop right here. We've got this one project here with the white concrete, and there's this fresh project right down the middle. Then on the same road, this person gets a double dose of welcome home from the city of San Diego. That 10 News viewer forwarded us a Craigslist ad, the subject line, "Free pet monkeys." Who doesn't want a free pet monkey? But common sense insisted that we read on with much skepticism. But apparently I've done something really wrong at work, because my boss is sending me out to the desert to experience what true heat feels like. You would think this breeze feels good, but it's actually just like a hairdryer blowing against the back of my skull. You look behind me here, the trees are so thick you could barely see for a few hundred feet. And then the trees here are also so tall, it's hard to see something from the sky. Now the biggest difference you'll see here at Aquatica is in the presentation. Take a look at this slide behind me. That hasn't been touched up yet, but over here, you can easily see what a fresh coat of paint can do to a water slide. It's this green lane along Montezuma Road, but it's also separated by these buffer areas that sort of give it a little safe zone from traffic that comes by. This is where a lot of people will get their first glimpse of what looks like a trapeze artist's net. This is the Murray Ridge exit getting onto the 805 South. Look at the archways underneath the bridge. Now imagine a giant tube hanging from those arches. Now, despite the misspelled bicycliste and accident, the person who made this sign was clever enough to put it right across the street from this sign. Now, most people down here have known this day would eventually come, but there's one aspect some people are still upset about. Here's the judge's decision right here. It basically says the Chinese Bible Church can build their new facility right here despite the complaints of the neighbors. This is where that bus driver basically took one for the team. This is Broadway in downtown San Diego. The parade was first canceled last year because this plaza here on 3rd Avenue, which is the main parade route, this was under construction. It was canceled again this year simply because no one wanted to pay for it. Now, eyeball test. We all know on a yellow, brown, cruddy day, it's probably not a good idea to go outside. But on a crisp blue San Diego day, it's the little particles that this app will help you find. Any regular wash machine is going to save you 7,000 gallons of water every year. And that doesn't include the savings on your water bill. Now the solution seems simple. Opponents just basically want to erase all these poles and power lines from our horizon. Of course, that costs a lot of money. Cloudy, gray, dangerous. It looked pretty much the same way on Tuesday when one man came this close to getting himself killed. Now, we've all heard about Adopt a Highway programs where people show up to clean up the highways, but here in Chula Vista, they're asking people to adopt a canyon. Were you a gambler before this?
You know, I'm not a big gambler.
Unfortunately, its days are numbered. Chula Vista's strawberry field, the last farm in the city, it's available. Build to suit. Doing some laps? In Alpine. Okay. In Carlsbad. I want to dress. In the newsroom. Free pet monkeys, like Brad McClellan. No. Covering the South Bay. Joe Little. All right, you guys can be on the news. At Lake Cuyamaca.
Stick it out a little bit.
I want to leave.
What? I'm out of here too.
Soaking wet. Joe Little. Think dry cleaning will cover this one? I could never be on one of those stupid reality shows where they have to survive. In Borrego Springs, because let's be honest, this beautiful face, Joe Little, doesn't belong in the desert. 10 News. Hanging on the monkey bars. Who loves their teacher? Joe Little. Who loves 10 News? 10 News.